What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan, your DIY guy. If you're new here, welcome. Go ahead, like and subscribe down below so you don't miss out on any of this exciting content. On today's episode, we're going to be building a braai area, or barbecue as our international friends would call it, as well as a wooden pergola. So stay tuned right up until the end. This is a two-part series coming up next on Nail and Screw. We filmed this episode in a beautiful part of Pretoria East called Mooikloof Ridge, and this area was full of surprises. And as you can see, we already have the tent up preemptively because the weather forecast called for some monsoon rains. Now, if you know anything about South Africa, you'll know that Pretoria is nowhere near an ocean. So that should raise alarm bells already. But anyway, we prepared for the worst and, well, we got it, which you'll see coming up later. Anyway, we got stuck in with all the foundation footings for both the braai as well as the pergola area. And you'll see more of the pergola in part 2, so make sure you stay tuned. I am pretty sure the weatherman heard our pleas for some relief because the sun came out, and that meant we could hustle and get the rest of our concrete foundation poured. And we even managed to get a few courses of brickwork going before the rain came down in torrents once again. You can see it created a bunch of puddles and even a literal river running down the side of the house from the neighbor's backyard. But we got the tent back into place and we topped off in certain areas and even used a bucket to collect some of the water that snuck in. But this poses a challenge because it filled some of our concrete foundation. So we managed to scoop out that water. And I can tell you this was not a lot of fun in between running for shelter and trying to continue when the rain subsided. But it did subside and then the sun came out, fortunately, so we could continue. Talk about making hay while the sun shines. That's exactly what we did as soon as the weather improved, because let's be real, who listens to the weatherman anyway these days? We were using a red travertine brick for this build, and although it is a bit more pricier, it is a nice clean cut brick, and those little gaps in the middle house the mortar, which creates quite a strong bond as well, and it matches very closely to what we had on site, which the homeowner requested. The next step, we cleaned up all of the mortar gaps, and now you could have used a pointing tool for this application, but we simply used a homemade trick, which was a block of wood with a nail through it, and that gives you a consistent recess, which is what we want to match up to what was on site already. The next thing we did was measure out the dimensions for the right pillar, which was also built to the 1 meter height, and then we capped it off with this perimeter of bricks, leaving a gap on the inside to house our concrete lintels. Speaking of which, here are our lintels. Now they come in different shapes and sizes, but these were cut to length and then placed in its place with some mortar, and they also have some steel going through it just to reinforce and make sure it is strong. Now you can see the finish on this front lintel is much smoother, so we used it there because it'll be visible, whilst the others will go towards the back, and the tops will be plastered anyway, which you'll see coming up. Here's a cool time lapse of how we built the upper structure. We extended the left and center pillar up another meter, which brings the overall height of the structure to about 2 meters before we enclosed it on the top with the chimney, which we'll show you in a bit. Here's a quick pro tip: when building with face brick, it's very important to have a second pair of eyes just to catch any deviations. That's what happened here, and although you're using a tape measure and level to manage your dimensions, it's always good to have a second pair of eyes to pick up the slightest deviations, which we picked up and corrected before it set. A quick word from this episode's sponsor, that is payingsocialmediajobs.com. Yes, you heard that right. For doing what you already do, you can get incentivized, because with most people who've been affected by the pandemic, now you can not only retain your landscape, but also retain that much needed income. Go and check out all the links down in the description below so that you can get directed straight to the money. As we finish up with the top third of the braai area, we use another concrete lintel just to hold up the rest of the bricks that will go on top of it. And it's very important to pay particular attention to the levelness of this lintel, because it will be very close to eye level. Another thing is that we used a smooth concrete lintel as we did at the bottom, because it will be exposed. The homeowner particularly liked this very straight upright style, which he saw at a neighbor's house, in fact, so we just copied and pasted. But usually you'd have a gather which narrows at the top before the chimney goes on, and the total height was about 2 meters so as not to interfere with the neighbors. Once we reached our finished height, we then proceeded to fill the rest of the bricks with some water just to seal them and prevent any water from penetrating, before we could add the chimney to the top and seal that as well to prevent any water going down the stack. Finally, we then proceeded to plaster this area. As I mentioned earlier, this just provides a finished smooth look to where you'll be doing the magic, which is braaiing after all. Congratulations, you're part of the Watch to the End Club. If you made it this far, go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. It tells the YouTube algorithm that the monsoon rains were not in vain and you enjoyed this video. And make sure that you're subscribed so you can catch the second part of this two-part series where we build the pergola, which is going to turn this area into a tranquil oasis. Coming up next on Nail and Screw.